Today I saw Assassin's Creed. At first I thought it was going to be kind of tricky to review this one. With adaptations, for the most part, I try to focus on the source material because I think that's really important, and I don't think a lot of people do that. But I mean, I haven't played the Assassin's Creed games, and it's even trickier because I was really interested in seeing the Assassin's Creed story. Even before there was going to be a movie, the idea of the story in the Assassin's Creed games always sounded interesting to me, but they just didn't seem like the type of games I'd be interested in. I would have liked to talk to someone who's played all the games, I guess, so they can explain the story to me. I feel like that would have been the best way for me to absorb the story. But then when the movie was announced, I was like, okay, maybe I can see the story through this. But I was hesitant, of course, because pretty much every single video game movie ever has done a terrible job at adapting the source material. Like, a lot of times they don't even try. Like with the U-Bowl movies and stuff. And at first I think people were thinking this might be different, and they might finally do a video game justice in a movie adaptation. But as it came closer, I think everyone, or at least I, suspected that it was just gonna be another video game movie. But I thought maybe they would get enough stuff right that it would be kind of tricky to review because I don't really know the original story, and I'd like to compare it to that to see what they've got right, so I know if it's a good adaptation or not. But without even having played the games, I can tell they didn't really get a lot right at all. Because even the main character isn't from any of the games. I looked up the main character's name, I don't even remember what it was. Aqua or something, I don't know. And he's not in any of the games. They could have made a movie out of the first Assassin's Creed game, or a movie with pretty much, I think, everyone's favorite Assassin's Creed character, Ezio. I'm not saying he's my favorite character, I don't really know anything about Assassin's Creed, other than I thought it looked interesting. That's just the Assassin's Creed character I always hear about. But no, they just made up a character for this movie. And I think they made up a story as well. Because for one thing, I'm pretty sure in Assassin's Creed, most of the game you play is the ancestor guy. And it's just the setup of the game that has the original character that gets in a machine that lets him relive his ancestors' lives or whatever. That's just like the setup of the game. But in the movie, most of the movie is that part. Like, most of the time you just see Michael Fassbender's present day character walking around this institute that has this machine that lets him relive his ancestors' lives. And there's a few big scenes in the movie that actually have him reliving his ancestors' lives. Just one ancestor, actually, which is the Agua guy. I don't remember his name. And that's completely different from the game, because the game is like 99% the flashback part. Like, that's completely where in the game lies. At first, when I had heard of Assassin's Creed, I didn't even know there was this whole present day aspect involved, and this whole pseudo time machine stuff involved. I didn't even know about any of that when I had first heard of the Assassin's Creed franchise. That's how little of an aspect of the games it is, or at least it seems to be from an outsider perspective, which is mine. And then they just make that the majority of the movie, with what I assume is a completely new story, with like the Apple of Eden or whatever. I don't think that's in any of the games. And Michael Fassbender's character, who isn't in any of the games. So it's pretty much exactly what they did with Silent Hill. Like, they pretty much just cherry pick aspects from the game and put them in the movie, and then mix them around and they have their own story. It's stupid, and it's not the way you should adapt anything. I haven't really heard anything critical about this movie, positive or negative. I think people have just forgotten about it at this point. I don't think anyone was really satisfied with it. And the movie definitely seemed to suffer because of it. I don't usually look at the income of a movie, but I happened to glance at this one when I was looking at the IMDb page, and oh boy, the budget was like $125 million, and worldwide I think they only made back like $50 million. So they didn't even cover half the budget. And I don't know a lot about this stuff, but I assumed that most movies at least make back the budget. Even if they fail, they usually make back the budget, I assume. So if my assumptions are right, then this movie, like, super failed, because it didn't even make back the budget. It didn't even make back half the budget. And worse than not making back the budget, it only got 5 stars from me. I'm only giving the movie 5 stars, which is almost a bad rating. I probably should give it a bad rating, but you know, I don't really care. It's harmless, because everyone else knows it's a stupid movie too, and it is kind of badly written at some parts, but mostly it's fine, besides the fact that it's a shit adaptation. So I just gave it 5 stars. I'd like to know what other people think, though. I mean, I pretty much always like to see what other people think, but in this case specifically, I'm actually going to ask if anyone wants to talk about this movie. Feel free to leave a comment below. I know no one really watches these videos, but if anyone happens to watch this and they want to talk about it, I'm down. I really want to see what other people think about this movie. But until then, that's it, and tomorrow I might see Trolls.